Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Vertical Take. This is episode 80, and what way to celebrate episode 80 with Anina Net.
Thank you, Taha. Thank you so much for having us here, you and me together. We're almost in our own vertical drama. I mean, vertical dramas are, 60 to 80 episodes. So, boom, you have officially made it to the milestone.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to have you on. We have some very interesting questions and some controversies. So, 80th anniversary, let's go, baby. So, I'm just going
Let's
to start
go.
off with the first question. So, Anina, you started out first as a model. How did you make your way into vertical short dramas?
Yeah, so as a top model, I transitioned to a tech industry and then worked in, mobile, etc. And then I transitioned into acting. My friends invited me to participate in a feature film. And so I went to China and tried to finish a feature film during the pandemic. This was in 2020. That
Ooh.
was quite a feat. And so I decided to stay there because, as you knew, the world was in chaos. And
Mhm.
once someone contacted me, an agent, and said, we have this new kind of format that's vertical. We're going to all go and stay together in a mansion because it's very low budget. And, we're going to bring all your friends together and we're going to do this. And I was like, checking with my friends and they were doing it. So, I dove in head first and I saw this medium and with my mobile technology background and also with my, fashion background, I saw immediately like bells went off and I was like, this is the next big thing. We have to get on this. And of course, nobody listened to me.
Of course they didn't.
No. And I talked about it forever. And so I sought out, I actively sought out and would like pester people to find out, who was shooting these vertical dramas. And at that time, a lot of the advertising agencies, they were shooting them because they were trying to keep their companies alive, right? And they were like, no, Anina, you're too good of an actress. These are very low budget. You bring your own clothes. I'm like, I want to do them. This is the next big thing. And they were like, no, 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 we're just doing this to like keep our, our company alive. They're terrible. And I'm not kidding you. I was on the hunt. I was like tracking them down. Anybody who was doing them, I was searching online for them. I was asking everyone, and then I found one of the production companies. They were doing them, and so it was very interesting. And I pretty much begged my way onto onto the set, and I because I simply believed in it. I know um, from a user standpoint, from a mobile phone. I also saw how people, were, transitioning and becoming more mobile, more gig economy. And I just knew that this was like the next revolution in film and television. And so what was so interesting is that by the time I did find them, we were out of the pandemic.
Hmm.
And the next one that I did was invested in by a real estate company. And the real estate company had all of these defunct properties that he had turned into these sort of mini sets. And so it was a way for them to reduce the cost of the budget, right? Because that is the key driver with a vertical drama. How can you create the highest quality of product, of storytelling on a shoestring budget? And
You
so
sure? Yeah.
that was so interesting was the fact that, because they were real estate investors, they had all these sets and locations. And so they could economize there and then invest in, hair and makeup, in wardrobe, in higher quality actors. And it was Vengeance and Untold Love. And it was one of the, first ones that I saw that was of a higher caliber.
Mm, yeah, that's crazy how you said that real estate got into it. I did not know. I thought they'd just reach out to brookers who would, have there's owners who, give their houses to film sets and stuff like that. They sell it off for a certain amount of time. But oh, this actually became a whole thing. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
in China, there was a really big real estate budget, a bubble. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of these, properties, shopping malls, etc., had become defunct. And so as we zoom ahead to today, now there are whole shopping malls that are created into sets. Like half the shopping mall looks like it's not finished with like all concrete, and the other half of the shopping mall looks like you have all these rooms, very much like TikTok sets, right? And they also
Mm-hmm.
use TikTok set locations and so on. And we see that now also in the United States. Primarily in film and television, you had the big, warehouses where they would have to build all the sets. And now
Right.
you see lots of small sort of TikTok social media sets are starting to pop up, which are catering to these, short form content creation, sort of prefabbed areas where people can shoot.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow. Very interesting. So, what's a performance film, TV, or stage that recently moved you or inspired you, and why?
Wow. I think if we're talking about film and television, of course, Hail Mary. If we're
I,
talking about vertical dramas, I think that there have been some really interesting shorts coming out, and to be honest, one of my latest productions is called Memories of Murder. It's the first horizontal short form slash film slash streaming production that I participated in, and I played a very serious role of a police officer who's solving a crime. And, she's a mom and trying to keep her daughter safe and so on. And we'll talk more about that. But this three-prong approach, I think, and the more serious genres and deeper characters are coming out now, I feel, in verticals, primarily from people who come from the traditional film and television industry and want, for lack of a better word, not the traditional tropes to express their stories. And we've also seen lots of action short dramas coming out. And I think that as this genre moves forward, we're going to see that those traditional filmmakers are going to start bringing something new and fresh.
oh, I'm sure, because there's so much room for this to just continue to grow into something new. That it's short format drama, mobile format drama has been out in China for maybe up to a decade. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in the United States, we're only on like year 2 or 3. So there's so much we can learn and expand on it. Like it's so new and so niche. And I love that. And we're just going to continue to grow and develop it into something new. And I'm so glad to be able to join the journey with you guys on
And I
this.
wanted to tell you that it's not just all China centric, you know? We have
Mm,
Istanbul, which is
I
also
yes.
bringing incredible stories to life. We also have Ukraine. You know, I don't know how they shoot those things in Ukraine, but
Right.
we have Ukraine. We also have the Middle East and MENA coming out. We also
Ah,
have Brazil is rising up right now. We also have Latin America short dramas, which are starting to expand. And of course, we always had the Australian. So I don't think vertical dramas right now are just about China and the US. I think that they are now starting to expand and become multilingual. Lots of my
mm,
friends from Brazil are starting more and more to shoot now in their native language, whereas before, of course, they were speaking English and then
yeah.
either being dubbed or, you know, used with an accent, right? And what's so interesting is to watch their acting while they're acting in their natural language. I speak German, and I
Mm,
also participated in a German test short drama. So that was really
mm,
interesting to act in my, you know, family's mother language, right? And I think that the you can see them on my Instagram. The German short dramas that I shot are far more serious. I mean, just the whole way that we know. You know that Germans are just
very
more
serious, and we
into
love that.
serious, you know, drama
Mm-hmm.
driven content. Then we've got the UK, right? The
Yep.
UK is bringing their stiff upper lip to the genre, you could say, too. So I feel like we're really going past the I'm going to dub this short drama in multiple languages using AI, and we're entering into an era of I'm going to produce these short dramas with native speakers in other languages.
Definitely, and we love that.
We do.
So, Anina, you have shot films and TV series in Asia, Europe, and North America. How do sets differ around the world?
Well, obviously, shooting in the United States, everything is very much to the, you know, SAG standards.
Yeah.
It's very much running on a time clock. I would
Mm,
even say that the performances are not as over the top as many of the Asian short dramas. I also feel there are more original scripts or scripts that have been better localized, right? Because many of the scripts that are shot in Asia are coming out of literally Asian short drama IP. And then they
right.
are translated into English. So there are things culturally that we just don't have in the United States. You know, this powerful matriarch who humiliates and and you know abuses the you know the leading young actress, right? That is
Yeah.
really a very Asian style storytelling because women there are very strong. Conversely, in the States, we have more, you know, abuse coming from, you know, a predominant father, for example, or we have a mafia story, right? That's coming out, or even cowboys, right? Coming from our pioneer day sort of history, right? So I
Right.
think that also the storytelling in Europe, right? Lots of vertical dramas are shot in England. So again, we have British storytelling. We have, you know, every culture is adding in their flavor to it. Obviously, shooting in the UK, shooting in the US, they're adhering to, let's say, you know, professional Hollywood standard shooting levels. In Asia, and say perhaps in Turkey, they are very non-union, we could say. So they have longer working hours. They're just have a different way of working that
Right.
is for them standard, right, for their industry. And so the two or the three different ways of shooting is also team dependent, right? If you have a team that has lots of vertical drama experience with foreigners, right? That then they have learned to, for example, have dietary questions, right?
Okay.
They have learned that they need to have someone who helps the actors because they don't speak the local language, right? Whereas also then conversely in the United States, well, you are quite independent and you better show up
Yeah.
on time and this. So I think that each country brings their culture, each country brings their uh the use to the way they're used to shooting, right? And what we're finding is that as we as actors move around, um they are coming two steps closer to us, right?
Yeah,
And we are
definitely.
also coming two steps closer to them, so we can kind of meet in the middle of what is considered acceptable and safe and within boundaries. It just really depends on where you are, but I think that the industry as a whole has become much more professional across the board everywhere.
Definitely, I agree. And yeah, different places have different standards. So, like in Japan, I'm just giving an example. It's a great honor if you're caught by your employer sleeping on the job because it shows that you've been working so hard. But you do that in the US, you're probably getting written up or fired. So definitely there's a array of cultures there, and we
Hmm.
love that we're mixing the pot and we're bringing pieces and bits of it and we're coming together as humanity, and I love that.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So, Anina, you've spent a lot of time between the US and China. Is there a culture shock on both sides?
So it's not just, I think, China, it's also Eurasia,
Mhm.
I think that there are, lots of things that you find shocking that first of all, in China, it's a paperless economy.
Mm,
Everything is done with your mobile phone. Transportation is outstanding. Getting from A to B to C. I feel like I'm on planes, trains, and automobiles. And it's amazing that they get me, from the north to the south in 5 hours, right?
oh,
Because of a
wow.
300-kilometer train ride that takes 4 hours, right? A high speed train and two taxis, right? And that they get me, from A to B safely, right? And at the same time, then I'm, coming here and I'm in LA, and it's a very car centric country, right?
Yeah,
And wow, I mean, we were just sitting on the corner and there was an accident, right? Like right in front of our eyes. So I feel like a lot of the shocks that I get too are, you know, when I like thrift shopping. So I go into the Goodwill, and they're like huge, big box stores, right? The Goodwill, right?
right.
And I think about that this is one Goodwill, and there are like 20 Goodwills, and they're all this big. And these are just secondary clothes that people don't want, like my amazing, cool jacket, right? Perfectly
Yeah,
new. And then I start multiplying that, and I just multiply that by the number of shopping malls, and it becomes overwhelming to me, the size of commerce, right? And the big
right.
box stores. Like I go into a supermarket here, and we'll be in there for how long, because it simply
Hours.
is that
Mm,
size, that gargantuan size, right? Whereas not that those big box supermarkets don't exist, but there just isn't enough choice of Western foods. So maybe I navigate through the supermarket faster because there just isn't such a variety of things that I can eat or that I can buy, or products that I, want to check out, or new brands, right? Um,
Right.
so I feel like these type of things are where I get my culture shock, is the size, the speeds, the fact that I can't take a train in the United States. Like, I mean, I took a train from Detroit to Chicago, and it was basically so slow. I just couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. And the train was so old, and it was like a new train, right? And so China, efficiency, transportation, logistics, living in the future, scanning and paying with your hand, which I don't do,
Mm.
but a lot of AI integration, right? And then you come over
Hmm.
here and you have big box stores, and not very good transportation, primarily car dependent, right?
Right.
And now we have the airline implosions happening, right? So I would say China logistics and all of that, very smooth. The United States, I find it very challenging to get around, right? Okay, now we have the scooters. Like, I got like the little Lime
The
scooter, and
Lime
I'm like,
scooter. Yeah.
I'm scooting around on that, but it's still not as easy. There's no bike lanes here, right? That type of thing.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's a cultural shock, and also it's culturally shocking that yes, people use AI here, but in Asia, they're like super users of it. They depend on it. It's
Oh,
like their
wow.
friend, It's another kind of level. Like, they have virtual friends. So it's also, this is kind of a cultural shift and difference, right? In Japan,
Definitely.
they have holograms, which are your friends, right? That are your girlfriends, right? Um, so I feel like a lot of things shock me on both sides of the fence.
Well, to put that in a bubble, I guess both countries have their pros and cons, but definitely when it comes to technology and how upgraded they are, Asia wins. Definitely.
Infrastructure wise, but then I
Infrastructure
would
wise,
say
yeah.
innovation wise, America obviously is also leading on the forefront, right? Like,
Definitely.
mm, neck and neck, neck and neck, I think, neck and neck. And also a different perspective on it, I would say.
Yeah, so a lot of big differences, but I want to talk about the culture post COVID-19. So let's
Yeah,
talk
so
about
I
that.
think that's super interesting on both sides of the fence. And that relates
Okay.
directly to the birth of vertical dramas. So,
Okay.
during COVID, nobody went anywhere. So we didn't need
No.
our mobile phones. We didn't need chargers. We didn't, we were just home, right? But post COVID, because everybody got used to working at home and now commuting to the office, I'm talking about primarily in the United States, and also lots of people lost their jobs, and lots of jobs kind of evaporated, and we went into this gig economy, right? So now we have
Mhm.
a population of entrepreneurs, right? Because everybody started opening up a small business, right? Maybe an online shop, or you know selling at markets, right?
Yeah.
A kind of a gig economy, working one day here, one day there, for people, a very much a society in motion, and also, inflation came in, and then
Yeah.
boom, people have to work more than one job to make the same amount of money that they were making before. So that's sort of on the Western side. And because of all of this happening on the West, this caused a lot of the overseas um, students who were here, they couldn't get jobs, right? So they
No.
had to return to China, but they have been educated overseas. They speak English. They have the cultural reference of the West, and then they have the cultural heritage of the East,
Of the
right? And
East.
so
Hmm.
then they land in China and they see that, nothing, it's still in development, right? And so they could bring then their expertise that they had and their sort of like get up and go be entrepreneurial spirit to the China economy. And I would say that post COVID, it was really the students in the West, because they're low budget workers, and then the students who came back to the East that really drove this short drama production, creation, ideation forward. And then combining that together with the fact that whether you're, a maid in, we call them IEs
Okay.
in China, a maid who's going from house to house to house, right? And so on her travel on the subway, on the metro, and however she's traveling on her scooter, whatever, in between, she's watching vertical dramas. Also, the birth and the boom of the gig economy of delivery, right? So whether it be Uber Eats or Meituan in China, suddenly the jobs to be had was delivering things to people, right?
Yeah.
And or Ubering or delivering people somewhere, right? And then you have like this time in between. Those people all of a sudden needed snackable content, right? They needed something that, for a minute and a half until the next gig comes in, they can have a bit of relief, fun, entertainment, etc., right? So I feel like, you know, Asia got more interesting because more people speak English now. There's this huge youth population that came back from the United States. They understand both sides. Innovation is happening, right? And then also on the American side, we have people that are starting their own small businesses. We have people creating products. We have people innovating, getting into startup programs, right? So I feel just in general, the world kind of, it got worse from a financial perspective and everything, but it got more interesting and better from the youth population entering and with their go get 'em attitude into the market. I find I have far more people to talk to and innovate with, because I love innovation now, than I had before.
Yeah. That's a lot. But it's all true, and it's definitely the world moving towards the right direction in terms of modernizing and developing, you know.
But look at
So
yourself. You've started your own show, right? That's like,
I guess, yeah,
obviously you are one of those go getters, right? That saw an
an
opportunity to tell
opportunity. Yeah,
story and you just got up and started creating and then it exploded, right? And so
yeah,
I think that's a perfect example of this post COVID world that we live in, and that lots
yeah.
of people who normally may have followed the traditional path of you go to university, then you get an internship, then you get a job in corporate, right? This sort of path that they lied to everybody about, right? That just evaporated post COVID. Now it's you got to get up, analyze the
And do
market,
something.
and do something on your own.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Living proof.
Living proof you are. Ta.
Thank you so much, Anina. I'm touched. So, Anina, you were cast in your latest leading role, which is a horizontal, not vertical, film in Asia in streaming channels. So, what's new about this format? And what was the biggest difference that you noticed between verticals and the new style of horizontal production?
So this is so interesting. First of all, it's called Memories of Murder. I mentioned it previously. The
Yes.
fact that I play a lead role as a cop, right? A cop
Right.
woman who has a daughter and is saving the day together with my counterpart who is a legal she's a lawyer. So this my counterpart and I work together to solve this murder mystery that's happening, right?
Right.
And the fact that two strong women are playing the lead roles. First of all, I just, does that ever happen these days? I don't know.
No.
I feel like Hollywood is
Very
primarily
less.
like 20 men and two women, right? And action roles, right? Like I was gun handling, I was doing stunts, I was fighting people, etc., right? And then my counterpart, she was fighting them in the courtroom, right? So, first of
Right.
all, the fact that east and west leads, that just is something totally new. The other thing was is that when I went to meet the director, um, I kept looking at the script and I said, is this is a vertical? And he's like, it's not a vertical, through the translators. I'm like, it's a vertical. And he's like, it's not a vertical, it's a horizontal. And we're shooting on RE cameras, right? We shot on the
Right.
the world's top level cameras, right? But it was so strange because the script read like a vertical, but it was a film, first of all, a film, then it was a streaming production, and
Okay.
then it has a short drama counterpart, right? Episodic, shall we say, counterpart. So the way that the
Mhm.
script was architectured, I feel, was is this new way of storytelling that's quick. It's has cliffhangers, and at the same time, because it was a film and a streaming and a vertical, not a vertical but a horizontal vertical, it had cliffhangers. But I guess if you looked at a normal movie storyline, they go like one, two, three, and then they go one, two, three, and one, two, three. And this was more like one, two, three, four, five, six, one, two, three, four, five, six, one, two, three, four, five, six. It had all of these smaller arcs within
Mm.
inside of this film approach. And then they had what I call a three-prong approach, is simultaneously they shot for cinema, streaming, and although horizontal, but short drama, episodic format.
Right.
And and how they did that only can because the mastermind behind it is one of the leading top script writers in all of China, right? That could figure that out. But I think it's very indicative of where film and television is going, right? We also
Right.
see in the West that they're starting to shoot simultaneously films, but then they have additional footage that they bring out exclusively for mobile and vertical. You see what I
Right.
mean? So, this three
Mm-hmm.
prong approach. Um, and then the storyline and the acting. Wow, I got to work with some of the top actors in new actors. I mean, they weren't famous, to you or me, but they had huge social media followings, like 5
Mm.
million people following them, which
Oh
they
wow.
considered small. They
Yeah,
considered their
for them.
following small, but
Like
you
5 million.
5 million, is actually quite large, but they were saying that in China it's quite small actually.
Okay.
But these were not um traditionally trained film and television actors. These are social media influencers who then are working in film and television, right?
Got it. So they
And
jumped into influencing into being full-time actors. Got it.
which I think is also very indicative of
Yeah.
where things are going. If we look at Tubi, right? Tubi
Mm-hmm.
just took on a whole creator position to liaison, and they're funding, creators, social media creators to create original shorts and films, right?
Yeah.
And then we're seeing Netflix starting to allow verticals in their feed, right?
Yeah.
So I find it very interesting that this, new way of telling stories is emerging. And, I don't know about you, when I watch a film, there's no good place to stop. I'm like, I really
Yeah.
need
You
to
gotta
get
watch
my
all the way to the
popcorn.
end.
You just have to
I
like
know.
freeze
Run.
them, right? And then you got to like rewind to start it
Yeah.
again, right? But in verticals, we don't have that problem, right?
You
There's
don't.
always a good place to stop.
Yes.
So I think it's very interesting the way this film and streaming was architectured, that there will be great places to stop, right? Within the
Right.
full, beginning to end 90 minutes, right? And and I also think that the fact that there are so many interesting characters in this new film that are a range of ages. Like I played together with Miss Hong, who's the, the wife of the mafia boss who just got killed, that, and she was so powerful. So powerful, she scared me. In the back alley, she scared me. And these actors were so deep. So I feel like that whole experience was culturally enlightening to me. It was also enlightening to me to see the new storytelling, and the fact that, I was very confused. Is it, a short drama or a feature? It's all three. So
Yeah.
I think it shows where this is all going.
Definitely a new pathway for storytelling and just media in general. I like
Yeah.
that.
Really interesting, and a great story. I can't ruin it, and I'm excited because they also have the license to bring it overseas. um
Interesting.
and I'm the only foreigner besides one other friend who's playing a lead. I'm the main character, together with my Asian counterpart, the lawyer. So,
The
and it's
lawyer.
a fantastic, incredible story that I think will appeal worldwide.
I'm pretty sure it will. Anything new, it blows up, just like we've seen so far. So, Anina, you have also shot 4 short films in the Midwest, bringing it back into the homeland now. How do short films differ from verticals, and what was it like to shoot with the young generation of directors?
Oh, so that's so interesting because, right, these short films were the thesis films from Columbia and from DePaul.
Okay.
And right as we are staring, imagine you're a director and you have just gone through 3 or 4 years, I believe, learning filmmaking,
Hmm.
and now you learn about the whole world changing.
I know, it's like everything you learn, it's like the total polar opposite of that now.
Right? So
Yeah.
what do you do? Well, I really have to tell you, the stories were so interesting. The stories, and I'm so honored to have been a part of them, all of them had strong female characters, right?
Okay.
Mothers of the leads, who were very interesting. They they're not in the vertical drama sense, overbearing and controlling, but there was a dynamic between all of them. Whether I was playing, one of the characters, her daughter is in a coma, right? And then the whole story is about this unconscious world that she enters into. Another
Right.
story was about my son, who's a genius and working, but completely depressed and unhappy, right?
Okay.
And another story was, fantastical and also had elements of a new family dynamic. And so
So these are
I
very relatable experiences that the average Joe could even have. So it's more creating touch instead of fantasy and dramatic elements.
Yes, and then of course, all of these films were shot very professionally because they're their
Mm,
thesis. They are their
yes.
thesis projects. So what was interesting there was they got funded. So they got
Mm,
funded from the film clubs, and they submitted their scripts, and then those film clubs funded the production, this high level production, right? So
right.
I think the stories that were coming out were very unique from the directors. Also, one of the stories was kind of, let's say, very broadly speaking, a Hunger Games story, right? Uh, and I just feel like they were professionally shot. They had great storytelling and they had really good characters that I enjoyed to play. The thing that shocked me was nobody had any nobody in the whole industry, and I went to industry mixers and I went every nobody in Chicago, Detroit, Midwest is cognizant really of verticals. They're just not being shot there.
Yeah, I know they're shooting some in Kansas City, but yeah, we don't see a lot of production houses shooting out in the Midwest. It's either New York, LA, so the East, West Coast, somewhere down in the South.
Atlanta, New
Atlanta, yeah.
Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm. But not really in the
LA, New
Midwest.
York, New Jersey, right?
Mm,
But I don't know if it's the weather, but I have not seen it. And then people weren't really cognizant of it. That's my point. Is
right.
all these young students, and there were many women also on the team, so that I also really enjoyed, and that's something that I enjoy about vertical dramas is that they have so many women on the teams. It's a great way for women to get into the film and television industry. But there were all these women, from camera operators to the sound people to the set designers, etc. They had zero cognizance of that. As students, as low cost labor, verticals would be a great way for them to get into the industry. Zero cognizance of that.
Wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about women, let's pivot a little. We love a strong woman, like your character that you played in Daddy's Got Girls and Guns. So, how did you prepare for that role specifically? And why is it so important to see these roles written to showcase women in powerful positions?
So again, hats off to Patty Ma because he always takes a male character and switches it up to be a female character so that I can play a really cool role in his productions. And I really totally enjoyed Daddy's Got Girls and Guns, and the fact that he made me, the head of the CIA, and I get to bust my friends, all and bust in. And a fun little story is I had been doing all of this gun training. And so that's why I was like, Patty, I want to play a role. And he had seen me do all of this, gun training, shooting, semi semi-automatic weapons, and as you know, in the Midwest, we have the militia. So I had a plethora of guns that I can now shoot, right? I'm fully
Love that.
trained in AR-15 rifles and
Oh,
AR-15 shotguns and all. I have, believe me, the guy had a stockpile of weapons that was so much fun to shoot. But my point is that Patty saw on my Instagram that I was, studying gun safety. That was the whole point of that, because I love to
right.
play action roles and powerful women. So I want to make sure that when I'm handling firearms, that I'm completely safe and confident in knowing what I'm doing, right? And so I'm the only one who got the non-plastic version, the real gun,
Hey, that's a
on
flex.
the set. And when I walk in, I told Patty, I need a break in this line, because I was looking at the script and I was like, she says this and it doesn't make sense for her to just plow through this one sentence. She has to make a threat. So in the middle of the line, and I'm like, and I cock the gun, right? To say, or you can just, do what you want, but you might want to think about that again.
Uh, yeah.
So I really loved the idea that I could play with this powerful woman, that she was in control, that she busted everyone, and that I got to use guns.
No, I love that. Now, since we are talking about guns and all of that, you have a lot of stunt military tactical training, as you mentioned, the gun handling and then the oopsie sword stuff, and even wire work training for film. Why do you invest in so much training in all of this? And do you actually use them in verticals?
Oh my gosh, I really think that every actor should get training in
Mm,
minimum stage combat, minimum fighting, etc. But you you would just not believe the incredibly unsafe ways I have seen people use guns. Okay, they're plastic, in verticals, that's fine. But just the number one rule is treat every weapon as
as
though
if
it were
it's real.
loaded. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so um even simple things like the lead has to hand the gun to the other actor, right? You wouldn't believe the way I've seen them hand guns over. And I'm just saying that things like that, it's not that it's unsafe because it's a plastic gun, but I think it gets you into a very bad habit, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And doesn't also show, you know, respect towards what could potentially be, a real device, right? Even if it
Yeah.
has blanks, etc., in it. And so, practicing good form, I think, is really important. Secondly, you wouldn't believe that in a lot of these verticals, there's a lot of fighting going on. There's a lot of choking going on. There's a lot of hair pulling going on. There's a lot of, beatings going on. And so many actors have no experience in how to perform these type of stunts safely. And so I
Mm,
often find myself on set saying, okay, we're going to do something really cool. And you trust me because I have stunt training. I'm going to talk you through how we're going to do, this choke hold or hair pull or more advanced stunt, like flipping over the shoulder, etc., because I have that training and I know, certain moves, how to do it, right? I
right.
also can fight with swords, right? Handle guns, play these military roles because I have that training, but I can really keep myself safe and also impart that information on the other actors that I'm working with. And even recently on my Instagram, I put a very simple stunt that I did where I had to chase after a guy, get knocked to the floor, and then dragged, as I'm screaming, "Tell me where my daughter is!" Right? And if you don't have stunt pads, right, knee pads, body pads, you know, 10 times that you get knocked to the floor, right? Like for each actor
That's
that you
gonna
have to
hurt.
shoot, right? That's in that scene. Once for me or twice for me, maybe 3 times for me because the camera, missed it. Then 3 times for the attacker, then 3 times for the other attacker, then, 3 times for you get the point, right? After
Yeah,
that, you're starting to get bruised, and
of
so if you
course.
don't have the right equipment, and believe me, I've seen them bring stunt pads now, and they're like, "Oh, we have these stunt pads." I'm like, that ain't gonna save your knee. There are
Right.
special knee pads that I have from that I got, from my stunt training. I can kneel down as long as you need me to kneel down. No problem, I can take a
Mm.
knee, I can get up from a knee, I can get dragged because I have the right equipment with me to be able to do that. I mean, still gets a bump or two, but I don't walk away with like a blue wrist or a broken elbow or cuts and scrapes and huge bruise on my knee or my thigh, etc.,
Right.
because I know what I'm doing. And so I feel like every single actor should train in order to keep yourself and other people safe.
Oh, definitely. It's safety. It's there for a reason. And if you want to protect yourself, you should definitely invest in that. I agree, 100%. So while on the topic on powerful women, Sonia Petrov in Falling for My Ex's General Dad, the one you did with Eric Fellows, and we did a whole hot take episode on it, which I will link in the bio below with Eric himself, was the quintessential villain role that you played. Um, and then also in Linda Smith in Pregnant by My Infertile Alpha King, that was another one where you were villainous. While approaching these characters, did you view them more as like the jealous ex wife or, a protective mom trying to, just be a mom and shield their children away from all of this, shitty world tropes?
So that I think is really interesting question because
Mm-hmm.
approaching Sonia Petrov, first of all, I had never played such a sexy woman. And I was shocked that the agent asked me, and I actually was like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think you can do this." And I was like, "But I have never played such a woman before." I felt I
Yeah.
really had to get out of my comfort zone, you know?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I really I put on for the audition, we could also link that below. I put the audition up. I drew upon a dominatrix woman that I met in Germany who was unbelievably beautiful, but it
Uh-huh.
was actually her job to dom high level businessmen. And she had like her own private club. And, as a fashion model, you do meet very interesting people on your
Right.
journey at high level events, right?
Of
And
course.
so I looked at how she approached the world, and for her, there wasn't anything strange about her job because it was a needed profession and it was professional. And these people, she viewed it, her clients, she viewed them that they needed this type of release. And it was very hard for
Mm.
me to wrap my head around this concept, to be honest. But her presence and her power and her femininity and the matter of fact way she approached her relationships with her job really stayed with me. So I thought, Sonia Petrov must also have this type of perspective, right? In that she treats men, very commonly, it's very normal for her. And she's in it for having her life as number one. And it's
Yeah.
very normal and expected that she would have this type of relationship with her husband, because remember, she left him, right? But
Yes, she
she
left him.
didn't want him suddenly to be going off with someone else. He needed
Right.
to stay dependent on
On
her,
her.
right? And she had her very, you know, sexual way of staying and keeping him hooked, right? And
Oh, yeah.
suddenly there was this young, sweet, innocent thing that she had no idea how to deal with or compete with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on every level, she's young, she's innocent, she is the character opposite her is really a good person, right? And hasn't been tainted by the world.
She
Sonia has
definitely has been.
no way to compete with that, right? She has no way. And then at the same time, I love this character so much. She has her son, and her son, although a tool, right,
Big
that she
tool.
uses, she again has this relationship with him, right, of like, she walks in and she pushes him down in the chair and is like, you're going to pay attention, right? But at the same time, in her own warped way, this is normal for her. This
Yeah.
is love. So working with Eric was so awesome because at he always wanted to do something different than the traditional trope. And we had an amazing director too, and who was totally open to our ideas, right? And so that whole combination to make it tasteful, right, led to so many things that we put in the script that weren't there. For
Oh,
example, the footsie under the table with Mateo,
uh-huh.
that was not in the script. And instead, I was like, oh, I was like, hi, I need to be playing with him under the table, you know? Such a Sonia thing
To
to
seduce
do,
him, yeah.
and it worked so lovely in amongst the whole play of the contract and everything that's happening, because it's so her that she would be seducing this guy, right,
Just to get
at the
back at
same
her
time.
ex, yeah.
Yep. And then also in the bedroom scene, where Sonia is like first drugged,
Mm-hmm.
her ex-husband, right? Eric came up with a whole thing where I was trying to chase him and he was, he didn't want Sonia. That was actually written
Right.
very differently, right?
Okay.
And then the whole scene where Bella, the actress, and I do the showdown, right? Where I'm saying to her like, well, you know, you have no chance, right? Again, we coordinated on that to really make it a full-on confrontation of, who is going to win. And then again, the hair grab and, just the violence of Sonia coming out in the moment. Wow. Honestly, it was the most fun. Everywhere we all got to tell the story and make the characters richer. And I'm so glad that people saw that. And I think it's a great example of showing that vertical dramas and their characters, I could have just played that very one dimensionally, very tip. I could have, and
Yeah.
Eric could have played it. We could have played it, like a million of the other stories that are out there. And I feel that these additional things that we put in there really, especially the ending. So I don't want to ruin the ending. I mean, the ending could have been, you know,
Crazy.
the typical like angry whatever, but instead, you know, I flipped it and I was crying because I was like, you know, Sonia in her messed up way loves him. You
She
know,
does.
he's the father of her child, and this is her life. And deep down, this is how she knows how to love, right? And so him leaving her is so devastating
So
that it
devastating.
hurt her, and I just felt all these tears welling up naturally. And then the director said go for it, you know. And also Eric was like, yeah, this is way better than the very typical, like, you know, get angry and storm off.
Yeah. Like, "Oh, I'll be back. Boom, boom, boom." No, he didn't
Right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like this was such a great example of how actors can give more depth to their characters, even
Yeah.
though we have this very small time constraint. And I know that many people say, oh, you can't develop, we don't have enough time to develop your characters. I think it comes down to the acting and doing the work of giving these characters these layers. And maybe some people don't do that, but I do that on all of my characters. And the
And it
same
definitely shows.
with Linda Smith. Again, such an awesome character. Again, I got to work with, I designed her. I was like, oh, I want this white hair. You know, I specifically, actually, I was just buying wigs for my, you know, character portfolio. And
Hmm.
this white wig, there was no reason for me to buy it. But when I put it on, I was like, oh my God, I
I
look
have to
so
have
punk
this.
rock. It looks
Hmm.
so good on me. I just have to buy it. And they're not cheap. That wig
Oh
was like
no. Mm-mm.
was a $500 wig. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not talking like it's some cheesy cheap thing. People could not believe it wasn't my hair, you know? So,
Mm.
but I had no I was just like this I love this hair. It's just so fucking cool. I'm going to play a punk rock character. I just know it. And I designed, you know, her down to the nails together with the hair and makeup team. She had snake nails. Like snake nails. And then if you see, she's always talking with her nails in
Yes,
and
a lot of
using her
hand movement in
nails, you
it.
know, like
Hmm.
they're her, you know, weapons
Props.
and stuff.
Yeah.
They're her props, right? And I love this character. And again, look at the story. If you look deeply into this story, she is fully justified. Her
Mm.
husband went off with another woman and had a child while they were
Mm.
together. Would you not feel devastated and completely betrayed?
Definitely, but she was a little over the top at times.
She
But
was a wolf, you know. Wolves
yeah,
kill each other, you know. There are
yeah,
different rules in the wolf world,
true,
right?
true, true.
But imagine that. Imagine that the person that you love, and look at her history, you know, she worked hard to get him to be her
Oh
husband,
yeah,
right?
she
You
did.
know, if you listen to the actual story of it, and then one day she finds this photo of her husband with another woman and a child. I mean, I think that would devastate anyone,
Of
right?
course, 100%.
That would. I mean, the betrayal level there. That so I love this script. I worked really hard on this character. She's so powerful, and I think she's justified
I
in the
agree.
wolf world. In the wolf world,
In the
where
wolf
like
world,
you
well, even
know,
in the human world, a little like just the concept of catching your husband cheating and having a whole child. I mean, that's that's a big thing to swallow. You know, it's not
right?
easy. I
So
agree.
I think again in the vertical drama scripts, if you give your character and you really read, I mean, you could just blow through that, of course, right? And play
Right.
her as fully evil, etc. But I
There's no
hope
fun in
that
that.
I hope that this additional deep work that I did on, building her backstory, really imagining what and thinking through the story, like, what would that be like? Hey, she's justified, in being hurt and wanting to, in the wolf world, in the wolf rules, kill this child and kill that woman because she is Linda Smith from the most powerful wolf clan and directly helped the queen to gain power.
Yeah.
So, of course, she can kill whoever she wants in the wolf world, right? In the
Right.
wolf
And get away
rules,
with it.
right? Exactly. So, but sadly, you know, she doesn't win in the end, you know.
I know. But hey, at least there was justification in that
I think she's
character.
justified, in the
Yeah,
wolf world. I think she is.
definitely.
And so I feel like a lot of fans reached out to me, and especially on this character, they felt some empathy for her. And
Yeah,
she wasn't just a one dimensional evil character.
she
And I think
wasn't.
that is the work that we as actors who love this genre have to bring on our own if it's not in the story to the genre, because that is how we are going to create those characters to be deep. And I think that it shows.
Definitely, it does seep through in the acting. So, switching gears a little, you are the founder of a US company that has a subsidiary in China, which marries high tech with fashion. How did that come about? And can you tell us about some of the products that you have created and why they are very important for future lifestyle?
Thank you. Yeah, so 360 Fashion actually grew out of the era in 2003, 2004 when phone cameras got Carl Zeiss lenses. And they got the
Mm,
ability to create media, right? And then we had the rise of the blogs. What that means is the ability for people to give their opinion. Suddenly, it wasn't like so difficult to publish your ideas and thoughts and perspectives on the internet. Before
mhm.
that, like, you had to have thousands of dollars to even make a website. There were no ways, although I hand coded my own websites and I had started it before. With blogs,
Right.
things became easier for people
Of
to just
course.
push a button and give their perspective, right? So now suddenly the media wasn't just handing down the perspective, and we as people could talk amongst ourselves, but we couldn't speak publicly about it, right?
Mm,
And so I equate very much what's happening with the that rise of the blogs with the rise of vertical dramas, because what happened with this citizen journalism, which plays into, social media influencers. I think I was actually the first Google search term. Actually, I was the first Google search term of model blogger. This didn't even exist in Google,
oh,
and
wow.
I was privileged to be in this conference, because I was considered one of these top 200 people in the world who were given the chance to use this technology. And they all said, like, I was like, what's this search? I don't understand this keywords and becoming number one in Google. And they're like, oh, we'll show you how it works, Anina. And they're like, here, you publish an article saying, about you're a model blogger, and then they all linked to it. And then that's how I became the first search term for model blogger in Google search, right?
That's
And
amazing.
and my company grew out of wanting to empower people like me, right, who didn't have access to technology. with the ability to show their perspective. So 360 Fashion came out of me giving all these Carl Zeiss phones for my people in the fashion industry to publish media from their perspective. So it became this real-time feed because they could send the photos and videos from their phone to the internet. I know that's a very common thing now, but back then that was
It wasn't.
unbelievably difficult to do. And I had to basically hand program all their phones because there were no protocols with the cellular networks to be able to do that. So that allowed me to work with many of the top companies in the world, mobile companies, mobile phone companies, and all of the emerging technologies. So because I had access and they trusted me because they knew I know what people want because I was a people, they gave me all this technology. So as technology emerged to AR, VR, AI, 3D printing, you name it, I always had access before anybody else. And what I saw was there were no women at the table.
Nope. Mm-mm. Very
And
male
women
dominated.
were not being empowered with the technology. And because of the way that many women are raised in that era, they're afraid of technology. Even they're
Yeah.
afraid of technology, and so I felt that it was my calling to use my name and image as a top model who did tech, to make it possible as an archetype that, like, oh well, if Anina can do it, I can do it too. And I continue that work now in the field of AI. Just here in Los Angeles, I participated in a hackathon with the women in technology in Hollywood, right? And many of these women hadn't used AI, right? And there's all these statistics, and we can just, statistic that to
Right.
death. But the bottom line is that more men are being empowered or more confident and using AI, using new technologies, using whatever the technology is, then there are women. And so I think that's sad because it means that we're not getting our stories out. And in the same way of
Unfortunately.
vertical dramas, this flood of women have come in to film and television through vertical dramas, right? Directing, line producing, funding, in every aspect. The only one I haven't seen is holding the cameras. I haven't seen a female DP. I'm still waiting for that. But
It will
my
happen.
point is in verticals, I think that in the same way, by creating beautiful technology, then more women will use the technology. So the two products that I have is I have a wireless charging wallet that comes in 18 different fashion colors. Yeah,
Oh,
Anina2049.com. You can check it out. So you can be wearing your gala gown and you don't have, like, these weird things stuck to your phone or huge charging blocks or all that stuff. You just have your wallet. You put your phone on your wallet and you can keep on social mediaing and emailing and everything, and you look beautiful and awesome and elegant. And
wow.
another product that I have developed is these illuminated chokers. And I'm not kidding you, pre COVID, I wear one of those. And literally, people chase me down the block off the metro. Yeah, I've had people run after me, and they're like, "Where did you get that?" You know, and I used to carry in my backpack like a couple of extra ones because I just sell them right there out of my backpack on the street. And I
Yeah,
think that comes from, um, the Coachella culture, EDM. It all
definitely.
it all kind of died, during
COVID.
during COVID, right? Nobody needed to charge their phone because it was always plugged in because nobody was going anywhere. But now that this is all coming back, I'm really excited. I don't have to explain to people how your phone charges wirelessly. Now
Hope not.
people know it, right?
Yes.
and concerts and the dance and people meeting up are all coming back. So I am really excited to bring these female tech empowered products to the market.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I will link that in the description box below for the viewers to go ahead and check that out.
Thank you.
So, Anina, time to get down and dirty with the controversy. AI generated films are, as I mentioned, a very controversial topic in the vertical industry right now. A majority of fans and creatives that we talk to are strongly against using that medium in the entertainment industry as a whole. What are your thoughts, both as an actress in the space and a champion in the tech industry?
Yeah, from the beginning. Um, I have always had in my contracts no AI. And
Okay,
it was very unpopular. And it often gave the perception that I was a troublemaker
okay,
because I was very insistent about having in any job. I mean, in my advertising contracts, in my vertical drama contracts, in any contract and any job that I've been doing since COVID, you know, even in my movie contracts, I always had it written no AI, and it often ruffled a lot of feathers, really. So, what's funny about that is and not only ruffling feathers on the company sides, right, but ruffling feathers on the sides of my acting coworkers who didn't put it in, right? And I would have
Mm,
discussions with them and say, like, because see, if they put it in and then I put it in and everybody puts it in, then I don't look like the troublemaker. But if I'm the
right.
only one putting it in, then,
You're
and
the odd one out. Yeah.
then I am the oddball out, right? So I would try to convince my, co-workers to put it in too. And they would say, like, oh, I don't need to do that. That's so ridiculous. Of course they're not going to AI me. And
Uh,
I mean, and even I would just have people say, I of course we're not going to AI you. I'm like, you're working at this job today, and tomorrow you're fired. Who guarantees that the person that comes in after you or the company isn't going to AI me? Like, you can give
exactly.
me as much as you want, but then let's just put it in writing, right? Well, guess what? Then, when my coworkers started getting AI'd, and many of them, you can find them even in CapCut. One friend, he's an avatar now in CapCut in perpetuity because he didn't sign it. Another friend of mine has been AI'd in game TVCs. I mean, the list goes on, right? The list goes on. And it's not to say that people can't AI me, and God, I hope that they don't AI me, but at least because I had it in my contract, they can't legally AI me, right? And I can issue a takedown notification and say this goes against my contract, and then the companies have to do it because I have it in writing and I
Yep.
can prove that. It's when you can't prove it that then they're like, sorry, this is between y'all and you all got to figure it out, right? But me,
Mm-hmm.
I can issue a takedown notification, right? Because I have it
Amazing.
black and white. So I feel like from an acting perspective, right? I already, because of my technology background, saw this coming, and I was courageous enough to step up and get labeled the, first bird out who gets shot, as they say in China. There's a saying in Chinese that says, first bird out gets shot, you know? Yes. and
True.
and I like to joke now, to be honest, because I want to now create um, short dramas with myself as the protagonist, but I am controlling it. I have
Yeah.
my computer set up. The data is local on my computer. I control it. And I think that is the issue. Is like, how
Mm,
can I trust party B, right? How can I trust party B because they are a company and people, come in and out, right? So let's put it in writing, right? So, but if I'm doing it and I'm doing it on my computer, I'm in control, right? So
of
to the
course.
to the greatest extent that one can be in control with AI, which is out of control in a black box, but I'm just saying, I know what I'm going to do with it, and I'm not going to do something that is going to damage my reputation, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that is really the issue is consent and control, right?
Yeah.
And having a mutual understanding, because I don't think there's anybody out there that wants to be promoting a product that they don't believe in, that wants to be saying things that they don't believe in, that wants to be, represented in something that is not them, right? So
Of
so
course.
as we see actors like Val Kilmer, right? He just got AI'd, but his family gave consent and they know what it's for and how it's going to be used, right? And it's done hopefully in a responsible way and in a respectful way. So
Of
I think
course.
this is really the crux of the issue. The second thing is that in terms of advertising, I need to be paid, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
like if
Hmm.
suddenly like my friend who's now in been AI'd, right? And anybody can make him sell any product anywhere, anytime, right? And he does not get any money from that, right? So now we see that lots of these vertical drama companies, they want to license the images of the actors, but they're paying a pittance. So
Yeah.
why would anybody do that, right? Why would
Nobody would.
anybody do that if they're not going to be making money from it, right? Or they're going to make 12 cents? Not worth it. Not
Nope.
worth it, right?
Mm-mm.
So like until we come up with a real revenue model where while I'm sleeping, I'll be making money and my digital twin is making money for me, which was my original plan. I have many versions of myself. I've been digitizing myself since 2004. I made a character, a cartoon character, an Anina mini me. And then in 2009, I worked with a gaming company and I made a 3D Anina version of me, which I put a mocap suit on and I can control. Like it's a fully rigged Anina, right? And I
Wow.
have throughout my fashion tech career this digital version of myself, which has interacted with and taken pictures with 120,000 people worldwide. Yeah, in
Oh,
AR. Yeah, yeah,
that's
totally.
crazy.
Yeah, so it's about control and consent, right? And
Absolutely.
it's really where it comes down to, because even this what we are on, is a digital version of ourselves. It's a video, right? That is a
Yeah.
digital version of ourselves, but we know that it's going from point A to point B and
Point A
how
to
it will
B.
be used, right? And it won't be misused, right? So I think that that's what's really important. So back to the fact that I'm excited then to participate in hackathons and to be able to control the narrative and play roles through AI that I don't necessarily need to be waiting around for somebody somewhere to realize that I, as a mature woman, can play a kick ass, futuristic rebel woman who saves the day, right? And social media, and that's where I get into talking about AI and short dramas. I think AI and short dramas is an amazing place. Short form storytelling. You're going to be watching my Instagram, and soon you will see me swashbuckling with, as soon as I can figure out, how to make really good stories. Fun fact, I think I've signed so many contracts that don't allow me to be AI'd. I cannot AI myself. I have tried all of this. Yeah, I've
Mm,
tried. Actually, I have someone coming over to my house and we're going to try again because no AI engine has been able to really AI me. And I swear, I think it's because I have so many contracts and say don't. It's like my face is allergic to it. But again, it comes down to me being able to control the narrative. And I want to put out and play powerful characters, powerful women who kick ass and save the day. And well, we can just, I can be old, gray, and die before that probably happens, in Hollywood, right?
of course.
For me, I'm saying, right? Let's hope one day it would happen. It would be great. But the steps to get there, again, AI tools are really exciting because, for example, there are tools that can reduce costs, right, in the pre-planning of vertical dramas. The AI can, now that there are agents, why can't there be an AI worker that orders all the lunch at a specific time, right? There are many areas that the AI can help low budget productions be able to economize and save money, right? One of the areas is a line producer, right? There are AIs that you can upload your script to, and then it can help you get the shot list, make the budget, etc. You still need a human to look over all of that and finesse it and finalize
Yeah,
it,
you're right.
but perhaps you need less time of that particular role. And therefore, you can allocate those funds to another area to increase the quality of your budget. You can put it into a better location, etc. Right? So I think specifically with short dramas and AI, there are lots of ways from pre-production to post-production. We can also talk about, special effects, VFX, go to space, all of that, and can be helped in this new storytelling format. Can it be used for cinema? The quality is just not there. Like the
Mm,
hoops that you have to go through to interpolate the pixels up to fit on that type of screen, not really there yet. But for vertical dramas, I think it can expand the storytelling. Now, specifically talking about synthetic humans. Well, I've seen lots of them and they're uncanny valley still, to be honest with you. They stand really still because they don't breathe, right? They don't
nope.
get nervous. Yes, you can program that in. But where they're really great is I see my mom, for example, listening to audiobooks. And now those audiobooks have
The
have
AI.
have a bit of AI in them, right? That makes the audiobook more entertaining, right?
Mm,
Can it really replace the nuance of a human today? I don't think so.
no.
But then now this is interesting. So I do a lot of mocap because I do action. So I do a lot of mocap for games. And when we talk about using the humans as the mocap to drive the AI, again, that's a human to machine model where the human gets paid. Then the AI can, let's call it, skin the human, right? But that's a way and a model that still works, that keeps the actor in the loop, right? But can expand the storytelling because now we don't need, like, somebody to have green paint on their face and it takes more time to shoot, etc. Because we can just skin them digitally to look like an alien and tell a different story, or a werewolf, or whatever it is, right? so
Right.
so where I think again it's being misused is what you mentioned before, is that vertical drama companies, when they are doing their advertising, are using the AI to generate scenes, specifically sexual scenes, that were
Mm-hmm.
not originally shot. They need to get consent for that, right? And I've been on lots of shoots where the vertical drama actresses is like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. Hence the rise of, intimacy coordinators, right, on set and so on and so forth. So the fact that then they take their image or a likeness of them and make them do extremely graphic sexual scenes again infringes on their um, image and how they portray themselves, their brand, right? And
Yeah,
so they should get permission for that. But
of course.
again, some people out there are just thinking that that's okay, right? Oh, the actor didn't want to do it, but we'll just get the AI to do it. And sadly, then it damages the image of the actor
Their
who would
reputation.
not have consented to that. Or maybe if they had shot it, it would be shot in a more beautiful, interesting, sexy
Tasteful
way,
way. Mm-hmm.
tasteful way, right? That would be just as alluring and effective, and not this graphic, grinding, or violent way.
Crazy. Well, that does lead into the next question. So I'm just going to read that out so that we can just continue on that. So, one of the most difficult things right now with AI generated content in the vertical world is the unauthorized use of real actors' likeness to add sexually explicit or at best suggestive scenes to promote previously filmed content without their permission. While the legality of deepfakes are evolving due to the fact that it's a fairly new issue, do you think that the production companies have an ethical obligation to protect the talent that they work with? And what would be your course of action if they came across something like this featuring your own likeness to it?
So I don't think it falls on the production companies. It
Okay.
falls on the platforms. And
Okay.
by platforms I mean from
The
Meta,
apps.
from the apps, meaning
Yeah.
real short, shortwave, drama box, etc., right? But also to Meta, who's serving
Mm,
the ads, TikTok, YouTube. Right now, there is no clear way for an actor to issue a takedown notification on YouTube. Yep.
oof.
You can submit. You can have also on Instagram all your friends go and say, I don't like this content, but there isn't a channel, outside of hiring a lawyer, I guess, and even just do the calculation on that, right? To get the platforms to remove it, right?
Right.
And so, lastly, it comes down to your contract, right? And
Contract.
obviously, if you have your contract, then you have to weigh out, is this worth me spending the money? And do I have the money to go after this legally, right?
Mm,
And I think in a lot of cases, because of the very fast turnover of vertical dramas, the answer is probably often no, it's not worth it, right?
not.
Because we don't have the funds to do that, right? If, however, it was, I don't know, something huge, like you remember when X celebrity turned in their laptop and then leaked
Oh
graphic,
my God. Yes.
graphic
Oof.
sexual content out, right? Um,
Mhm.
those incidences that happened, right? So again, like if it became something huge, like that was truly damaging to their image and reputation, rather than being served up for a week, even a 2 week or a month or whatever. I mean, you would have to determine the length of it, right? But
Right.
at some point it would become worth it to pursue it legally and get damages because the damage that's been done is bigger, right? You know what I mean?
It's irreversible. You can't
Right.
ever take it down like that. Yeah, you're right.
So, so I think that it falls upon the big five to, you know, man up, for lack of a better phrase, and
No, that's fine.
to provide the channels for actors to refute and request things to be taken down, right? And so this is so interesting because in China, there are very new regulations, very stringent regulations emerging. I think China has some of the most restrictive laws, regulations on AI use with humans. And people and platforms have to immediately take down. There have been cases where, for example, actors, vertical drama actors in China, spoke out publicly on social media because they have no other place to do that, saying that they didn't give consent for their images to be used. And those vertical dramas had to be taken down because of the laws in China. And every week, almost, it feels like China is issuing more and more regulation around deep fakes and human impersonation, that I can't even keep up with it. There was another one today around around advertising and having fake people appear giving testimonials, right? How can fake people give testimonials? They're not people,
What?
right? giving
Right.
giving testimonials of products, health products, for example, right? Financial products, etc., that were misleading people, elderly people, people who are not familiar yet with being able to detect an AI person, right? They
Right.
believed these testimonials and they purchased the product, and then they had, adverse effects. And so regulations went into effect today banning that. And the people who do it will face amazing amounts of fines. And if not, more
Jail
even
time.
more stringent. I'm not sure
Mm,
if it's jail time, but I believe that they will
okay.
be. Um, they have social credits in China.
Ah,
They will then
yes, the social
afterwards
credits.
be restricted from being able to do certain things, buy a house, whatever, etc. So, I
Mm,
mean, that's not. I haven't checked officially what it said, but I want to illustrate that. I think it's interesting that China is developing some of the best, seed dance AI, but now because of the outcry of the people, they are also developing laws, rules, regulations, guidelines, best practices to protect actors, and that are far ahead of the West.
yeah, no, definitely. And that's something that we, as well, the vertical industry in the United States and just the industry in general in other countries should latch onto and make rules because it's getting tough. Sure is. So people use films as a form of escapism. However, some of the best films throughout history have challenged viewers to comfort what it means to be human. Meaning they force you to feel emotions through creative and complex dialogues brought to life by portrayals of iconic film stars. With the robotic voiceovers and sometimes the cartoonish look of AI generated characters, how can these productions hope to truly capture an audience with content that has no emotional resemblance? I know it's a loaded one.
So, I mean, the short answer is I don't think that they can.
No.
I don't, when I watch these vertical dramas that are AI, and I have lots of directors sending them to me and asking me, does this look good? How does this voice sound? And I often like, out of respect because they're my friends, I answer them, right? Out of respect because I do like AI, but also, at the same time, letting them know that nope, it ain't there yet, baby.
Mm-mm.
It ain't there yet, baby, at all. Bringing it back to the robotic voices, it's so tragic. One of the most beautifully shot short vertical dramas that I shot. Um, I mean, shot by a director who shoots cinematic television. Um, I look so good in this short drama too. And the emotions that we brought out and everything were amazing. And you know what? They dubbed me
Ooh.
with a voice of a non-native speaker, and I have this super nasally destroyed the entire, yeah,
Uh,
destroyed it. It's so sad. All of us, all of the actors, we were so floored because we saw, I have never seen such a cinematic, vertically shot, even to date. I have not seen such a beautifully shot, cinematic, excellent acting vertical, and it is completely destroyed with the robotic voiceovers. And that was a whole era in the short dramas where they would shoot actors without sound and dub them later, and we were always like, I'm like, I'm American, can I dub myself, right?
right, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but because of the way the structure is, like the dubbing department is completely disconnected from the cinematic department. There was no way to get that, across the line. And it is so sad. And so I really feel that robotic voices just, they convey the information, but not the emotion.
No, definitely no emotion there. That's, yeah, I was having a conversation. This was actually before all of this AI stuff blew out. I think this was back in April or May of last year. John Jameson, he did Kiss Me 99 Times a Day with Sarah Noel. No, I think I butchered her name, but anyways, towards the very end, there's a shower scene, and spoiler alert, his voice changed from his natural voice to like this very robotic AI. So I'm guessing what happened was, because it was a shower scene, there was water flowing, they couldn't really get the audio on point, so they just took it out and completely AI'd his audio in there. And I tell you, it is horrible. I pointed that out to him, and he was like, "Oh shit!" But unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. Offered to go back on set to dub that part. Nope, they want to keep it. Crazy,
I think because
absolutely.
it's too difficult for them. Luckily, if you know the directors well, I know lots of the directors, personally. So then they will, when they're controlling, sometimes they're too busy and they just hand it to the editor and that's it, right? But sometimes they have the time and then, or it's an
Right.
important project to them and they're motivated by it and they have the time. And then they will invest in really taking care of every aspect of it because their name is on it. And many times they will, text me and send me the video so that I can dub it myself rather than use AI because it just creates a better product, right? And so it's very interesting that right now with a lot of the AI vertical dramas, they are searching for the voice actors who can bring it to life. And it's so funny because voice acting basically died, right? Because of AI voice. And now voice actors may have a second chance at jobs dubbing the AI vertical dramas.
Yeah, definitely. So you know, you don't bite the hand that feeds, but then I guess micro things come out of it too. And in this case, it would be that. Anita, if AI is an inventable part of the future of verticals, or if the entertainment industry as a whole, how can it be safely implemented with a minimal impact on the industry's human cost?
I don't know the answer to this question, how it can be safely implemented. Um,
Because
because
AI,
it,
don't get me wrong, is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but in this medium, this I you've mentioned, and I also have opinions of myself. There's so many cons to it that it's outweighing the good, you know.
and not only that, but just fundamentally speaking, AI is a black box. We can
Oh yeah,
program it, we can create it, but we do not know or have any insight into how exactly it works. And it's very interesting. I have some of my friends who are incredibly respected technology leaders that swear AI is sentient. I have then other very respected users who say AI is so dumb. Um, I think that there isn't safety and AI, just the two words don't go together at this point in time.
no, they don't,
Period. You
unfortunately.
know, in any aspect of it, there is simply risk. And so the question is how much are you comfortable with risking? That's where it comes down
Mm,
to. And there are things that you can do, right? Like local models are becoming more and more powerful, and at the same time requiring less and less computational power. So I like the idea of local LLMs that I can use on my laptop locally or on my desktop locally so that, it's not out there on the internet. But again, it comes down also to the humans, because a human can go take a picture of anyone and make them say anything, right?
yeah,
So I don't think it's all about the AI, because it's the humans who are using the AI. And just like there are good characters and bad characters and bad actors and good actors in vertical dramas, there are good actors and bad actors in real life. And there isn't right now, I think, any type of protection that you have unless you go live on an island and are not on the internet.
yeah, no, I agree. So let's go back into a lighter note. How do you stay grounded and creatively inspired in industries like fashion, tech, and the entertainment that move so fast and is always constantly changing?
Wow. Meditation,
Okay.
meditation, prayer, having good people around you, uh, having comfortable covers that I can hide under when I'm afraid or when
Yeah.
I'm unsure. Um, Also, a discipline in controlling
Mm.
my own mind, right? So there's an incredible production called in Midwest called Theater of the Mind. And it takes you, spoiler alert, through sensory perception.
Okay.
And it shows you scientifically throughout this theater journey that what you see is not always what is
What you
real,
see. Hmm.
right? And that a lot of what we perceive is made up. It's the meaning that we are applying to the images that our eyes see, right? And this is so interesting too. I just completed a 2 week intensive acting training here in Los Angeles, with a very famous acting teacher, a renowned acting teacher, and it only happens twice in a year.
Okay.
And
Very exclusive.
yeah, very, very exclusive. You're hand selected, etc., and you have a
Oh.
cohort. Yep. And we did this exercise where you had to repeat back. You would say, what you mean is, right? And then
Mm,
you would say what you're real, and then you would say another one, which is what you're really saying is.
is. Mm,
And a lot of times you got it wrong
yeah.
because it comes through what you are perceiving the other person is meaning, saying, emoting, etc., right?
But it's not always the case.
And
Mm-mm.
so I feel that it is incredibly the same way that oftentimes, if we really got into the right now, I'm in Los Angeles, I'm here having an incredible interview with you. I am staying in an amazingly beautiful place. I just did an incredible acting intensive, and I'm up for several new roles, etc. that will push every one of my dreams forward, right? But it's very easy to look at the glass half full, what you don't
Yeah.
have, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
get into the future, right? So it is scary. uh, right now, many of my friends in China are saying that there's no work, everything is being eaten with AI and they don't have jobs. um, is that going to come here, right? Is that going to eat into this amazing, incredible, beautiful life that vertical dramas has given many, many people, from production to acting to the app platforms? Vertical dramas really made an incredible economy of film,
Oh, yeah.
giving so
Definitely.
much employment to so many people, right? And to have that all get destroyed, it can really make you go hide under the covers, right? It can really
Yeah.
make you, forget about all of that. So I think that in reality, we are biological AI. And I believe that the power of the human spirit and creativity will always outperform AI. And
Yeah.
so let's go make some more movies like I Robot, where we show that we can win, right? And
Absolutely.
instead turn into a society that takes responsibility for its people and uses technology. I mean, throughout history, we just can't we learn finally? Atlantis, whether it's a story or real, blew themselves up with technology. Rome blew itself up also. Like, can we not find this balance of it's it's good for everyone right now. And I felt like we had that for a minute. I felt like
We
we really
did.
had that for a
I feel like
minute,
we did. Mm-hmm.
but then those other bad actors out there, get greedy, investors get greedy, you know, and all
Capitalism
of the seven
occurs.
sins, all of the
Yep.
seven sins start coming in, right? and
Yeah.
and it's always on this planet going to be the fight between good and evil, right? It's just
Of
always going
course.
to be that, because we live in the world of duality. So
Yeah.
the way you stay grounded is you must actively see and choose the good.
You have to. And that is Quite the powerful punch note there. So now, Anita, we're gonna get into the fun stuff. So we're gonna play two truths and a lie. Currently the score is I have 3 points and the guests have 1 point. So let's see if you can trip me up.
Two
Ready?
truths and a lie, right?
Yes.
Okay. Gonna make it hard for you.
Let's go.
My favorite scent is rose. I built a robot and I own a Mac.
This is so hard because the robot, I do see you actually building a robot because you were in the tech industry for so long. Mac, well, everyone knows the best technology out there is what Apple has. Question mark, maybe.
Think about all the
um,
tech that I do, though, you know?
True, but you could be stumping me off. And Rose, interesting. But I feel like it is just so random that that could be the lie. Hmm. Maybe you don't use Mac and you're using something higher because I know in Asia they have different companies with way better technology. You know what? My gut is saying to go with that. I don't think you own a Mac. And I think the other two are right. I'm going to lock in. So you can go ahead and reveal the answer and explain the other two.
Eh.
Oh!
I own a Mac. I own a PC. You should know I own everything. I
Okay.
have built a robot. Yes, I built a
Yeah.
robot. It was funded by the EU. It was a concept robot. It was a fashionable robot. And to date, it is the most beautiful robot. Because if you've ever seen those robots that bring you stuff, they are ugly. They look like
They
washing machines on
are. They look like.
wheels. Yeah. I
Yes,
built the most
exactly.
beautiful Louis Vuitton looking robot you ever saw.
Okay.
Boom. And although I do like rose, my favorite scent is sandalwood or lavender.
A part of me wanted to choose that because it was just so freaking random, and the other two were tech related. But then you stumped me off with your poker face and everything because I was over here over analyzing it, and I put the
Poker
Asia and the
face.
Samson. I know. Well, props to you for
Do I
stumping
get a
me. The
point?
guest. Yes, the guests now have 2 points. I'm still in the lead with three, though, but let's see. It's basically what I should call this segment is the vertical actors and actresses versus Ta. Because you guys are all working together to stump me. You did
It
an
was
amazing
tough
job.
though to think of something
Oh,
that would
yeah, it
stump
was.
you.
Well, you definitely did. So props to you on that. And congratulations to the rest of you who got that correct. Now, the next segment we have is a rapid fire. So, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Roses or tulips?
Roses, in that sense, over tulips. They smell good.
Okay, because I was about to say.
I did live
Would you?
in Holland though, so I do love tulips, but they don't smell. So I would choose the
Right.
one that smells over the not smell.
Yeah, but they are very pretty to look at, like especially
They
when they're
are
blooming with
beautiful.
the different colors. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, not very rapid. Would you rather tell a truth or do a dare?
Truth.
Soft tacos or hard tacos?
Hard tacos.
There's something about that shell. Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout out loud?
Whisper.
Ooh,
Save
comedy or
people's ears, I guess.
nah? They'd have to like come
What?
all the way like
What
this.
did you say? Say what?
Huh. Comedy or drama?
Comedy.
Mm, you just have to have that sense of humor in it. Um, Are introverts too quiet or are extroverts too loud?
Too loud.
Too loud. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No.
I agree. Vampires or werewolves?
Vampires.
Yeah. Sleep in and work late or get up early and get off early?
Sleep in, work late.
Yeah, that's me too. Hence why I'm doing this at 11:22 p.m. local time. Do you have a TV in the bedroom?
I have a TV in the bedroom, but in my other home, I do not.
Interesting. Eat somewhere new or add an old favorite?
Old favorite.
Yeah. Audiobook or ebook?
Audiobook.
Road trip or fly trip?
Road trip.
Ooh, I'm the opposite. Get me on a plane, baby. Yeah, I hate cars. Well, let's not get into that.
I
Listening
mean, I
to
fly all the time. So, road trip, I think is
right.
slower. I would never have time for that. But I'm just saying, if you are asking me to choose, then I would go for the road trip because I'm always on planes. But I do love planes, but I'm always on planes.
Yeah. Something it's just something about a plane. Listening to loud chewing or endless hiccups.
Hiccups.
Okay. Favorite music genre?
Christian.
I like that. Photographic memory or time travel?
Time travel. But I do
You're
have
an
a photographic
actress.
memory.
Oh, so you're already
I do
gifted
have a
with it.
photographic memory.
Okay, in
Yes.
that case, that's fine. Because for someone
So
who
I would
doesn't
choose time
and they want to be
travel.
acting, yeah, definitely. I like that. Would you rather spend your day off relaxing at home or doing activities out and about?
I stay home because I travel so
Homebody.
much.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to rejuvenate and relax. I get that. Make a phone call or send a text.
Text.
Uh, I'm the call person. Would you rather be a rodeo clown or a mediator?
Rodeo clown. Why not?
Rodeo clown, yes. Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Summer.
All the time, baby. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Ooh, interesting. Get a handwritten love letter or a bouquet of freshly picked wildflowers.
So difficult to
I
choose.
know,
Love
right?
letter.
Right, that I can keep forever because the flowers are gonna die, and I guess I can keep the dead ones, but it's not the same.
I can pick my own flowers, but I can't write my own letter
Oh,
to
true.
myself. I guess I could, but not the same.
It's not the same. No, I get it. Would you rather find out you're a robot or find out you live in a matrix?
Robot.
Okay. What's something you hate doing, but you do it because it's good for you?
Take my vitamins.
Okay. Could you live off the grid? Like,
Totally.
okay.
Who are you talking
Uh,
to?
Miss Tech Geek.
After an extreme period of detoxing, I have actually lived off of the grid. But I do tell you, it was crazy. It felt like I was coming off of heroin. And not only
Wow.
that, but like I was squeezing the last SMS out of my phone on this mountain 12,000 meters up, okay? Sorry, 1,200 meters up. And I was walking in a circle, frantically trying to talk to this guy who was, my new boyfriend and squeezing the
Oh,
last text. And this guy walked up and he said, "Girl,
stop. It's
put
not
the
gonna
phone down."
work. I love that. Thanks for sharing that experience. So, would you rather have a perfect night vision or supersonic hearing?
Night vision.
Yeah. Cereal
I
or
don't want to
oatmeal?
hear what some people say about me.
Uh, fair point. Cereal or oatmeal?
Oatmeal.
Really interesting. Um, who was your favorite cartoon character as a kid growing up?
Oh, in Germany, we
Mm,
had a little guy called Der Maus or Die Maus, the
okay.
mouse. And so the mouse, he was a great little character.
Is it similar to Tom and Jerry for people who aren't?
No, no,
No.
it was a mouse, a very smart mouse, because there was
Interesting.
no cat.
There was no cat involved. Got it. So
Yeah, but
like
there were lots of
Jerry's show on
mice.
its own.
Yeah,
Lots of
Jerry
mice.
on his own.
Jerry on its own. Because Jerry's smart. Don't get me wrong. Jerry's a
Mhm.
smart mouse. Yeah.
Very smart. I believe that it is the cat who always gets spoiled.
Tom was always Tom was something. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Well, I'm allergic to both, so
Oh.
no bias judgment there.
But I like dogs too, you know? I like any animal who's friendly.
Yeah.
Even python snakes.
Okay, you lost me at that. And the last one. Do you have any hidden talents that might surprise fans? You must have something.
Hidden talent. Gosh.
Anita's gonna be like, "Oh, I created AI under an alias name. That's me."
No, but you can send photos and videos to the internet because of the work I did with Nokia.
Mhm. Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
not really a hidden talent. That's
That's
like
not.
documented. That's documented.
I don't know. Are you like
Hidden
double
talent.
jointed? Can you touch your nose with your tongue? I don't know, like anything. I don't want you to skip because that shows that you don't have any talent when you have so much talent.
Know what my hidden talent could be. Oh, when my devices die, I can put my hands on them and call them back to life. My
Ooh.
iPad just died and um I went to Apple and they were like, it's dead. And they couldn't do anything for it. And then I went home, put my hands on it, and I asked it to turn on and it did. And that is a reoccurring. I've had computers die, hard drives die, phones die, everything die, and I speak to the ghost in the machine.
Oh my God. That you know what? That's all that meditating and that divine spiritualness coming through. It's got to be that.
I talk to the ghost in the shell all the time through the internet and stuff. I'm telling you, there's a ghost in the shell for sure.
There is. Oh, I take your word for it. So, thank you so much for being in that rapidish fire. But we had fun. I will be linking all of your links in the description box below so that the fans and viewers can go connect with you. And episode 80, man. It's been a roller coaster and what way to celebrate with Anina. And I love this.
And you know what? Eight on its side horizontally is infinity. And
Infinity.
the number zero technically doesn't exist.
It doesn't. It was added.
It was
Mhm.
invented.
It was
So
invented.
80 is a great number.
Yeah,
Thank you so
and
much.
no,
Really.
thank you so much for coming on. And for the rest of you, wow, 80, you guys are loyal. Until next time, peace.